This is Dave Mack, a longtime Facebook friend, and he has a successful YouTube channel all about the carnivore diet. So I've watched you a little bit talk shit about carbs. So what do you have against my friend Carbs? As a matter of fact, I got some carbs right here in front of you.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. Let's see how big you talk now. The carbs right in front of you.
So, well, first, I just want to say thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. This is, I think this is the first interview I've ever done face to face.
Oh yeah, right. Because you're always like interviewing people on your channel.
Yeah.
And I thought is it the first time someone interviews you?
I've been interviewed before,
okay.
But yeah, it's always online because it's usually like by someone in America or someone in England. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so so what's all the trash talk about carbs about?
Well, a few years ago, I just discovered that, more than 20 years ago, I discovered that carbs were not good for my body.
Okay, how did you discover that? And I have your first question to everybody. How did you find Carnivore?
Well, it's a lot, as many people would answer, it's a long story. But basically, the summary is, more than 20 years ago, I was, obviously much younger, and I was drinking a lot and wanted to lose weight, and nothing worked. Tried every kind of diet that's out there. And I stumbled across this Atkins New Diet Revolution book. And I read it and I was like, okay. So it's kind of like that episode of Seinfeld where George discovers that, everything he's always done that he thought was right was wrong.
Right.
So if he just does the opposite, then it's going to be good.
Yeah, right.
And
why don't you go over and talk to her, George? No, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
But if that's what old George thought, then new George should go over and talk to her. Yeah.
Exactly. And so reading that Atkins book was like that for me. I was just like, okay, well, I'm going to try this. And my body responded so well.
What made you think that, because the Atkins diet at the beginning to a lot of people seemed crazy. Right? So did it seem a little that this is crazy? Yeah.
It was only because at the time, all the media and news was going crazy about it. I think it was early 2000s, so late 99 or the early 2000s, he had republished the book. And that's why everyone started going crazy for it again, because I guess it just got into the mainstream.
Didn't Oprah get her hands on it? Did she?
Maybe,
something like that. Yeah.
She's tried. Like me, she's tried pretty much everything.
Every diet, yeah. And so she. So there was media behind it. There was a lot of hype behind it. So even though it sounded crazy, there was a lot of support. You weren't the only one.
Yeah.
So you decided to give it a shot, and
it worked. My body. It was like, I was thinking to myself, this is crazy, but my body was saying, this is exactly what you're meant to be doing. And so I did it for a few months, but then there was so much negative media attention about it, like on current affairs shows and all that kind of thing, and interviewing university professors saying, everyone's going to die, and, all that kind of thing. And I also worked with someone who used to be a dietitian. And every day he was saying, you need to eat bread. You need to eat bread. You're going to kill yourself. And so the pressure just became too much and I gave it up. But I always remembered how good my body felt.
Right, yeah.
And then fast forward to 2022, I had some health things I needed to take care of. And I just thought, okay, well, I'm going to ditch the carbs again. And of course I was still doing vegetables and stuff at that time, because like Atkins and keto is some carbs.
Right, yeah.
But I kind of went down the rabbit hole of Carnivore, which is cutting out all carbs on YouTube, and went, okay, well, I'm just going to get rid of it altogether.
So did you decide, okay, since I'm doing this, I may as well video my journey and start your channel? Or did you already have like doing YouTube in mind before that, or did you start your YouTube channel after you were already well into the diet?
Yeah, I started well into it. So
Okay.
I was about 4 months in,
Okay.
and about 4 months in, I was pretty angry, kind of feeling like, well, I was obviously happy because I was feeling better, but I was pretty angry because I was starting to feel like we'd just been lied to about everything, right?
Yeah.
Because problems that I had that are non-fixable problems were getting better.
Right.
And
Yeah, it was talk about that, like the non-fixable problems. Like there are things like, for example, gum disease,
yes,
psoriasis, eczema, dry skin, acne. What else?
so yeah, I mean, gum disease was a big one for me.
Because gum disease does not go away. There's no cure to gum disease, is there?
Well, there is. Stop feeding it.
Right. Okay. Sure.
And it's something that actually everyone that has it should want to get rid of, because it's potentially a precursor to dementia.
Oh.
So there's I can't remember the exact name. Like gingivitis is not the name for gum disease, but there's a bacteria called gingiva blah blah blah.
Right. Right.
And this bacteria gets in and it just lives under your gums, and it can affect your
Right. Yeah, because I've heard of other people who started the carnivore diet just because they had other autoimmune diseases,
right.
and then as a surprise, suddenly their gum disease went away.
Yeah.
And there were some other things as well. I realized I just I poured myself a drink and didn't take it over here. It's also, it's the one-man horse and pony show. It gives me a chance to check my focus too. So because I'm doing this manual focus now, I'm worried that we're going to record for an hour and a half, and then I'm going to look at the video later. And it's going to be or blurry. It's going to be blurry. It's like, okay, well, maybe everybody just listen to this episode. You don't have to watch it. Okay, so the list goes on. What other things?
Gum disease. The big ones for me was arthritis going. I had really bad arthritis in my left knee. It's gone.
Wow.
If I eat vegetables or plant-based foods, it comes back.
So it's that bad for you?
Yeah. But yeah, as long as I avoid the plants, it stays away. And I've always had a limp. Since I was 17. I've had a limp related to a stroke that I had when I was 17. And my right side is generally weaker. And since I've been eating a high-fat diet, the strength is coming back, the limp's improving, that kind of thing.
I see. So, yeah, you've talked about that, and you have a whole on your channel. So it's a no carb life, and it's at zero carb.
At zero carb.
At zero carb, or just David Mack, no carb life. Search for it. You've got a lot of super great guests, I have to say, because you start off and say, "How did you find carnivore?" And they talk for 40 minutes. They make your job so easy.
Right.
And they all have really interesting, super interesting stories. So maybe you could tell us some of the things, like just give us highlights of the things that are on your channel.
So yeah, I mean, the majority of what's on my channel is these interviews, and some of the things that people have fixed just through changing their eating, just by getting especially sugar but carbs out of their diet. It's like vision problems. A guy I interviewed was having trouble, like he's legally blind. He's got a guide dog. And he started eating this way, and like very quickly after ditching the carbs and eating a high-fat diet, he noticed that the colors on his iPhone were getting clearer.
Ooh.
And it's like, okay, I can make this out better now. And like a week or 2 weeks later, he was out for a walk with his daughter. And I'm going to get upset when I say this again, but he saw her face for the first time in 10 years.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I've got a playlist on my channel of people with MS that the MS is gone or going. And, you know, for me, throughout my whole life, MS has been this nebulous thing that you just hear about people getting, and then they're stuck with it, and it causes problems in their life. I've never really understood it. And now it's like, well, MS is a thing, but if you stop eating the wrong way, then most of the problems will go away.
Most of the problems can go away for some people. Right, it's
yes.
like not everybody who does it will experience the same thing, but right, and then and even how about just the like surface, like what weight loss? You have everybody in your channel who you interview loses a lot of weight.
Yeah, you know, I've had people on my channel that have lost, you know, 150 kilos.
150 kilos.
Yeah.
Wow.
So because I interview a lot of Americans, I talk a lot in pounds, so I'm used to pounds. But I know a lady that was 700 pounds, which is about what, nearly 300 kilos.
Yeah, 300 kilos. Yeah.
And like I think she lost 500 pounds, so she lost 200 kilos.
Jesus. Yeah, 200.
Right,
kilos,
she's like driving a car now. She couldn't get into the car before, things like that.
Yeah, that's insane. Okay, so yeah, I mean, yeah, this is like amazing. So for you, the results were the
the gum disease.
You lost a lot of weight.
Lost about 15 kilos, you know. You know, all the kind of puffiness in my face disappeared.
Right.
You know, like the kind of, oh yeah, he drinks a lot kind of face.
Right,
you know?
right. Also, you have pretty nice skin? Like, have you always had nice skin?
It's
like that?
improved. Yeah, it's improved. And I just lost my train of thought then. So,
well, there's a lady on your channel. She's actually a carnivore coach, carnivore diet coach, and I think she's maybe Australian. She said that she always had like pimples on her face, and after the carnivore diet, doing it for a couple of months, then her face just cleared up. And actually, when we were watching the channel, we thought like, wow, she has really nice skin. And then like only 2 minutes later, she said, I used to have pimples all over the place. And I was like, oh wow. So. Yeah.
Improves people's cystic acne and all sorts of things. It's, yeah.
Right. Okay, so now what, okay, so we're talking about, you keep saying the way, if you eat this way. So what is the way? I mean, carnivore, the word carnivore should tell everybody exactly what it means, but tell me what carnivores eat and what you eat.
The reason I say the way, or the way of eating, is because as much as possible I try and avoid saying carnivore diet, because when you say diet has this, I mean, it's accurate, but diet has this feeling of temporariness, you know. It's like, oh well, I'm losing weight for this wedding I'm going to, and then I'm just going to go back to eating normally again or whatever. But basically, yeah, this way of eating involves getting rid of plant matter, which is the veggies, the fruits, the flour, sugar, all of that kind of stuff. If it comes in a box or if it's got a nutrition label, it's out.
Right.
I
laughed my ass off when you said like let's look at the because I want to go back. I want to go back to that. Just to remind of the food pyramid.
Right.
That we've been lied to all these years since the 70s or late 60s. Was that where they first made the food pyramid, where they had like you're supposed to eat mostly carbs,
right?
You know, and then mostly carbs, and then next you eat like whatever vegetables, and then there was like protein, nuts, and last junk food or something like that.
Yeah. And it's basically upside down.
And it's not like they just got it wrong. They purposely lied to everybody because the corn industry wanted to sell more corn syrup and all that stuff. And so, so the scientists were paid a lot of money to write reports that said that, fat is bad for you.
Right.
And that carbs are good.
So, the Sugar Association paid off 3 Harvard scientists to say it's not fat, it's not sugar, it's fat.
Right.
And they paid them
it's making you fat.
Yeah. They paid them what would be about $50,000 in today's dollars.
Right. I heard it was like a few $1,000s each or something like that. They paid them to write this report. And then for 50 years, everybody was going by this, what is actually an inverted food pyramid. Yeah. And if you just flip it over, then you kind of have a better way of eating. And in your case, you just cut the whole grain part out. Yeah,
everything's out that way. The only other thing that I would say is really important for eating in this way is you have to cut out seed oils.
Okay.
So that's canola oil, sunflower oil, soybean oil. I mean, even avocado and olive oil and everything.
Well, I've heard differing things on this, but let's just say seed oil is bad and canola oil. Avocado oil comes from the avocado, but it's a fruit, so that's why you're not.
So things like olive oil and avocado oil are better.
Right.
But the issue is you don't know if they're cutting it.
All right. Well,
so you go into your local supermarket, right? Maybe if you're buying it from an import store or something, but if you go to your local supermarket and you're buying the supermarket brand olive oil or supermarket, you don't know if 50% of that is canola oil.
Right. So what Dave is talking about is the kind of like it's mafia, the mafia in Italy and places like Spain. They control the olive oil business, kind of like the Godfather. He was importing olive oil, or supposedly importing olive oil, but he was doing other nefarious things. And so they either cut the olive oil with sunflower seed oil or canola oil or whatever other kind of thing. So you're not getting 100% olive oil. Sometimes you're not even getting 10% olive oil. Sometimes it's almost 0% olive oil, but they just put a label on the bottle and, that's what people are buying. There are consumer reports done where you can go online and you can find what the good olive oils are. But So if you could be guaranteed that you're using 100% pure olive oil, would you use it?
Depends what I'm using it for.
Okay.
So if it was cold on salad or something like that, well, I'm not going to eat salad, but anyway, sort of put myself in a catch-22 there. But
this might be a good short.
If it was cold, then it's okay.
Well, you could put it on a meat salad. You could have some cold
that's right.
meat
You
and it's
have it on roast beef or something like that. Yeah. But if I'm heating it up, then no, because it gets unstable when you heat it.
Okay.
And so that causes oxidation in your body.
Okay. And the avocado oil also is coming from the meat of the fruit. Avocado is technically a fruit, I guess. Yeah, as a seed. So that would be the same thing, but they both have a low smoke point, which is part of the reason why they oxidize. Yeah. So you'd have to keep the temperature low, whatever. Okay. So I'm probably doing a bad job here because we keep jumping all over the place, but there's just interesting topics. So I said I laughed my ass off when I was watching that one video because you were looking on your website at some government agency in the United States who just recently, in the past couple of years or a year ago, put out recommended food with scores on it. and they had like Cheerios at like number 76 and like ground beef at like number 200 or whatever. I forget it. Don't quote me on this.
Right.
And you said, let's look at the ingredients of Cheerios. And it's like sugar, wheat, whatever. And then you said, let's look at the ingredients of ground beef. And you showed a picture of a cow. I almost fell off the sofa.
So that actually, I'd forgotten about that particular recommendations. That has gone quiet. They created that, and it's gone quiet.
Because everybody ridiculed the shit out of it. It was on Joe Rogan. He was like, can you believe this? They're recommending you eat fucking Cheerios. This is insane.
Imagine giving Cheerios a green light and giving an egg a red light. It's just ridiculous.
No, it's insane.
But I think, it's the ridicule. And also, I think, a lot of this stuff is created just as kind of muddying the waters, so that people kind of go, well, that recommendation said that, and that the food pyramid says this, and that's, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to eat the way I've always done.
Right.
And I think it was a little bit of that as well,
Right. And if anyone thinks this is conspiratorial, it probably is. But conspiracies actually do exist. And if you don't think that government agencies would be bought off with a little bit of money to put up, information so that the, this or that Kellogg's or whatever, whoever makes Cheerios can sell more Cheerios, and they can make probably make billions of dollars off breakfast cereal, then maybe you're a little bit naive if you don't believe that these kind of conspiracies exist.
I think for anyone that doesn't think that there's validity to that a lot of this is, it's not planned, but it's a lot of things all come together, and out of sheer dumb luck, it's like, hey, we've got complementary industries here,
Right.
They should look at Belinda Fettke's YouTube channel or her website. She's got a lot of in-depth videos where she kind of goes through the history of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, well, in the United States, it's illegal to take pictures of slaughterhouses.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, because they don't treat animals humanely. And so, the meat industry, they got a law passed that makes it illegal to film the slaughterhouses or those chicken coops or whatever. You're not allowed to film them. So if you think that can happen, but information by the government is paid for by food companies to muddy the waters of information, like you're saying, is not possible, then you're probably a little bit naive. These things happen all the time. Okay, so I keep jumping around, sorry. And so basically it's the carnivore, like I said, should say it all, but it's meat and meat products. So basically meat and eggs.
Meat, eggs, bacon, what else?
Anything that comes from an animal.
Anything that comes from an animal.
And then so you would balk at using extra oils. I think if you're cooking meat, you don't really even need oil much, right? So there's a little bit of fat comes out of all meat anyway.
So especially like ground beef.
Of course, yeah.
But if I'm cooking in butter or beef tallow or lard.
Okay, so butter, beef tallow, lard, those are good. Meat, animal products. Right? Any kind of meat, eggs. What else do you put? You eat cheese too.
Used to. I don't anymore.
You don't anymore.
Yeah.
So, but would cheese be... Cheese would be cheating, kind of, on the carnivore diet?
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't be cheating. But cheese is one of these things that, 50% of the people can tolerate it, 50% can't.
Okay, I see.
And it just causes inflammation for me.
Right. So, and dairy products have lactic acid, lactose. Lactose is a kind of sugar. Sugar causes inflammation. So, the time I dieted, that was specifically a diet that I knew was unsustainable. Mm-hmm. It was just to lose weight. I turned 40 and I just decided I'm going to get in the best shape of my life. I decided to follow this guy, Chris Gethin. At that time, I was eating 5 to 7 times a day, all protein and non-white carbs.
Right.
So no white bread, no white potatoes, no white rice,
Racist.
No sugar. Fucking racist. Yeah, but it's okay to be racist against white. That's okay. So yeah, I cleared everything white and no alcohol, and I did it for 3 months. And in that case, like, you know, something interesting people don't think about regarding carbs. There's no such thing as an essential carb.
No, yeah.
Protein, amino acids, those are essential.
Yeah.
If you don't have them, you will die.
Yeah.
Fat, if you don't have fat, you will die.
Right.
If you don't have salt, you will die. Oh, you put salt in your diet?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not an animal, it's not a plant, so that's
But, yeah.
fine, yeah. And spices, those are your friends too, right? Pepper, you know, chili.
Yeah, like I don't have any. I just have lots and lots and lots of salt.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But chili actually is one of those spices that can actually reduce inflammation. Cinnamon also. You wouldn't put cinnamon. Oh, cinnamon in tuna? It's actually pretty good.
Really?
Yeah. Whenever I make a tuna sandwich, like you wouldn't have
canned tuna.
Yeah. I canned tuna. You wouldn't use mayonnaise either, but what I do is I use mustard.
Uh-huh.
Mustard is, I guess, seed. So plant. I don't know if you'd have mustard, but I take that canned tuna, I rinse it out, I put a bunch of mustard in it, and I put just a little bit of cinnamon, because you don't know what's in there really, but it's just it almost acts as a spice in that case. It's not overpowering. Yeah.
Interesting.
And if you're making a tuna sandwich, like with the mayonnaise and everything, put a little cinnamon in it, change your life.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great.
Wow.
And you know where I learned that? Seinfeld. Because Seinfeld went to a place, I think it was in the Bizarro World episode where they had to go to the other restaurant, and he complained because they don't put cinnamon in their tuna salad or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but I digress again, sorry. So all meat products, and dairy is okay, except, it can cause inflammation. Oh, I was saying, when I was on that diet, there was actually no dairy either. You weren't supposed to have milk. If you had a protein drink, it was water. And but I just decided for myself, I'm not cutting yogurt out of my diet, because the yogurt we have here in Japan, the plain yogurt has the bacteria number on it.
Right.
And so there's maybe a little bit of live bacteria still in it. There's a lot of bacteria in it. And I feel that me and my buddy Mark, actually, we said when we've gone on long trips, like to Philippines or whatever, there's like zero yogurt in the whole country. So we end up catching a cold or something like that, or we don't feel right.
Okay.
So because the gut biome is like really, really important, as like we find out more and more these days. A lot more research is being done on it. The gut biome is like super important. And for me, even if I did carnivore diet, I'd still have yogurt. I'd probably have berries too. I'd have blueberries.
A lot of people do. A lot of people still have yogurt or still have some berries, you know. It's one of these things that basically it's an elimination diet. Right. You're eliminating down to the bare bones and what is least likely to make your body react in a bad way, which is, you know, meat products. Right. And then some people will go, you know, I miss yogurt or something, they'll add that back in, or I miss berries, as you say, and add that back in. And some people can tolerate that. Me, as soon as any carb hits my mouth, the weight comes on and I start feeling horrible.
Yeah, for me, I'm a really poor judge of, like, my body doesn't really react to things that much, or I don't really feel it so much. But even for me, like, if you're like that and you're thinking like, well, I eat carbs and I'm fine. Well, think about a meal you have where you have like a big steak and you're kind of full. And if somebody offered you another steak, you would say no.
Right.
But you eat a plate of pasta, somebody offers you more pasta or bread, Yeah, sure. Why not? You can just keep shoveling it in. And then, so why is that? Why is that we can just constantly keep eating carbs, but meat signals to us that we are, so rhetorical questions, but meat signals to us that we're full and we don't want anymore. But carbs, we can just kind of eat it forever. And if you think carbs don't affect you, after you eat a big meal of pasta or bread or something like that, how do you feel? You feel like you got to undo your button. You feel like you're going to roll home. You're sedate. You're tired. You don't want to talk. You're like, so for me, that effect I definitely have on like too much carbs.
Yeah.
And otherwise, I have gone like I've done intermittent fasting, and then had only vegetables and meat basically,
Right.
and I felt the like kind of sustained energy that people talk about with the carnivore diet or with like no carb diet, no simple carb diet. So. Sorry, I'm preaching to everyone. I know you know all this, but some people don't know that vegetables are carbs, but they're complex carbs, and so they break down and they actually have nutritious things that the body kind of needs or that are good for the body. But simple carbs like bread and rice and stuff, they have nothing that the body needs, but they do have a lot of energy.
Yes.
They have a lot of energy in them, and so when I say no carbs, I mean the simple carbs. I typically eat, even now I typically for dinner will eat meat and vegetables.
Right.
And sparkling water, whatever.
Yeah.
So what do you specifically eat?
So a normal day for me would be, I eat usually only at breakfast time. So about 7 o'clock in the morning, I have about 700 grams of ground beef or mince. And maybe 8 to 10 eggs scrambled.
Okay, so 100 grams of ground beef has up to 30 grams of protein, 27-ish. 100 grams of ground. Oh, yeah.
Good question.
Okay, so a pound. You don't know your macros?
No, I've got no idea.
You never measured how much protein, fat, or whatever you're eating?
I just eat until I'm like full, and then I stop eating.
Okay, and so, but if you're eating 500 or 600 grams, so that means you're having probably about so 5 times 15, 1,800 with all those eggs, probably about 2,000 grams of protein. Is that right? No, 200 grams. You have about 200 grams of protein. Yeah, which is as much as like some bodybuilders would have in one day. That's a lot of protein.
Right.
And fat. What the ground beef? It's like 80% fat, 90%. You don't really care.
In Japan, it doesn't really say, like, or at least in my supermarket, it doesn't really say.
It does at Costco, but other supermarkets, okay. You're right. They don't say. Sometimes it does at Koyo here. Sometimes they have the 88%. Sometimes they have the 80%. I think.
Right.
They have the beef pork mix a lot.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm eating. Yeah, it's the beef pork mix.
Yeah, that's a lot cheaper. And eggs. Well, everybody knows eggs are good for you, but if you're eating that many eggs, everybody's going to say, "Oh my God, your cholesterol must be through the roof."
Yeah,
but it's not.
And it is.
No, your HDL is through the roof.
No, so my total cholesterol is. I haven't actually tested it for a long time, okay. But. Yeah, my LDL is high, very high, over 300. And so my total cholesterol is probably around 400 and something. Triglycerides are about parallel with my HDL. So, and they say that, the triglyceride to HDL ratio, if it's 1 or below, it's pretty good. So,
right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right. So... This is another myth, right? That the low cholesterol is good, that you have to lower your cholesterol.
So the whole thing about the cholesterol in the food doesn't impact your cholesterol in your body. I think the saturated fat might, but the biggest driver of cholesterol seems to be being lean and going on a zero carb diet. So there's some studies come out by a group of people, including Nick Norwitz and Dave Feldman, and one of the things that they're talking about is a lipid energy model. And the lipid energy model works that basically when you deplete the glycogen in your liver from carbohydrate, then your body needs to get energy from somewhere. So what it does is it upregulates the production of LDL. And so you're naturally going to have more LDL in your body.
Right.
So that's why someone who's obese that goes on a low carb diet or a zero carb diet is not likely to have the same spike in LDL that a lean person would.
I see. It's interesting. And then some research has shown, some research came out maybe 5 or so years ago that said that the food you eat has very little to do with your cholesterol.
Yeah. I think
it's more genetics.
Yeah. USDA or FDA, I'm not sure who the organization is, who the acronym is, but they said that eggs, for example, are no longer a food of concern.
Right.
For cholesterol.
It was years ever since growing up. It was like eggs are good for you, and then eggs are bad. In the 80s, it was like eggs are bad for you, too much
egg
fat.
White omelets and
right.
kind of, that was who would want to eat an egg white omelet? I don't know.
I don't mind egg whites, but it's like, why not eat the yolk? It's like, yeah. I do admit that if I eat like 5 eggs, I'll take out 1 yolk, sometimes 2. So I'll have like 3 yolks, 5 eggs, or something like that. Yeah, and you're laughing at me.
That sounds like some kind of superstitious thing.
No, it's probably leftover sort of brainwashing from the
from
yolks.
The 80s.
The fat is bad for you, sort of thing. So yeah, I should probably stop doing that. I'm just wasting food, actually, right? So I should stop doing that. If you don't mind, just move a little bit.
Sure. Sorry.
This way, yeah. So we can see your pretty face. So, and you also do intermittent fasting.
Yeah, because I'm only eating once a day.
Right.
So sometimes I'll go more than a day without eating.
Really?
And that's one of the really nice things about eating this way, eating a high-fat diet. You can fast for 48, 72 hours and not feel stressed or hangry or anything.
Right, because it's kind of funny, but eating carbs actually satiates your hunger. And it's one reason why if you're on a diet where you're exercising a lot and lifting weights, you actually need energy to get a better workout. So in that case, carbs can be beneficial, especially if they're not white carbs, but something like brown bread or, brown potato, like purple potatoes, brown potatoes. But I want to say sweet potatoes, sorry. Continuing eating carbs can satiate you, but once you're totally off carbs, then you no longer crave them.
No, yeah. It's so freeing.
Yeah.
My 3 years ago, my pattern of eating was wake up, breakfast at 6 a.m., think about, from then think about what kind of snack am I having at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. snack's done, now I'm thinking about what I'm having for lunch. Lunch is done, now I'm thinking about what I'm having for a snack. Then I'm thinking about what I'm having for dinner, and it just never ends. And you're always tied to the convenience store, the supermarket, the kitchen, and you're always thinking about food. And that's all gone.
Yeah.
It's so free.
Yeah, that is one thing I liked about intermittent fasting when I did it. I still sometimes do once or twice a week, but it was kind of like you wake up and you just do stuff. You don't you gotta make the breakfast and do this and that and sit down and eat it, and that takes 20 minutes, and then so I usually when I'm working, I'll often not eat breakfast on work days, and then I will on non-work days because I have time in the morning, whatever.
Right.
So intermittent fasting you combined with the carnivore diet because why? You just
Well, it just happens naturally.
Oh, okay.
Because you are eating that high-fat diet, you're not feeling like, oh, it's dinner time now. So there's no more, you're on the clock for eating
Right.
anymore.
So it's more satiating.
And so it's like, well, actually, I just don't feel hungry. I'm not going to have dinner. And then the next day, it's like, oh, I don't need dinner at all.
What if you have you ever thought about, or have you ever done this? Cook all your stuff in the morning, put some in a Tupperware, eat some for breakfast, take some for lunch, or save some for dinner. You ever like space it out?
I've tried that, and I don't feel as good. I feel much better, like kind of stuffing my face with that one meal, and then just let the energy come out over the day.
Okay, so let me play devil's advocate for here for a little bit. So when you're eating only meat, you're not getting a bunch of other vitamins and stuff. So go.
Which vitamins?
Like broccoli, for example. It has a lot of fiber. Fiber, which is good. Vitamin, B and C, and the K. You eat some bananas. You get, and then the fruits and all that. So answer that.
Okay. Well, firstly, fiber. Fiber is, and you can check this on Google. Fiber is not essential, and it's not a nutrient.
Right. Okay.
Fiber is basically bulk.
Right.
And if you eat a lot of fiber, you've got a higher risk of diverticulosis or diverticulitis.
Okay. So what about all the vitamins? There are vitamins. Meat has some vitamins and minerals, but not much.
One of the common ones that people cite is vitamin C. And they say, okay, well, if you're on an all-meat diet, you're going to get scurvy. I'm still looking for these people that have got scurvy. So they're not easy to find.
Right.
Basically, meat does contain vitamin C, but it's only in trace amounts, right?
Right, and it's not, what do you call that? Doesn't absorb well, I heard.
To the body?
Yeah.
It's very bioavailable.
Bioavailable.
So it is bioavailable.
Okay.
And actually, vitamin C is probably less bioavailable from fruit and vegetables.
Okay, so that's what I was thinking,
Right.
actually. So I had it mixed, yeah.
So I don't know what the RDAs are, right? But let's say the RDA is, 100 milligrams of vitamin C. I'm just throwing a number out,
Yeah.
right? But 100 milligrams of vitamin C. You're not going to get that from meat, right? But the reason the RDA is so high is because when you're consuming a lot of carbs, and you're consuming, your breads and your pastas and whatever, there's a transporter in your body called GLUT4, and that transports glucose into your cells. That also transports vitamin C into your cells, right? So it's the same transporter. And if you imagine it like Midosuji in peak hour or the Yamanote line in peak hour,
Yeah.
Basically, glucose is, there's more glucose passengers and they're all obese. And the vitamin C passengers are smaller in number and smaller in stature, right? Who gets on the train?
Right.
The fat the obese passengers, who outnumber the others. And so you have to have a higher RDA of vitamin C to make sure you actually get some benefit from the vitamin C that you're consuming.
Right.
If you're not consuming things that turn to glucose, then vitamin C, a small amount that you have, has a free ride.
I've heard that before, and also many people don't know that many vitamins, like if you're taking vitamin supplements, many of them are fat soluble. So if you're not taking them with fat, they're just going right through your body.
Yeah, it's kind of throwing money against the wall.
Yeah. and I'm not sure, but I think vitamin D is one of those. So I take fish oil with my evening supplements, and I take vitamin D, C, and L-carnitine, and some other things, whatever. But I take the fish oil so that there's some. Well, because fish oil is good for you, and How about you? Eat fish?
Sometimes. I'll sometimes have salmon or sardines.
I see. Devil's advocate. I heard the solution to getting more vitamins while you're on a carnivore diet is to eat innards.
Yeah,
if you eat
so
gizzards, hearts, liver.
Yeah.
Do you eat that sometimes?
Very, very occasionally. Like if I go to yakiniku,
right,
I'd sometimes get a plate of liver or something like that. But you can also, it's very easy to overdo it. But yeah, I mean, and that's liver is if you're worried about vitamin C, liver is a great source of vitamin C. So you could have like, I don't know, a small plate of liver once a week or once a month or something. And
yeah, personally, if I did the carnivore diet, I would definitely eat more innards. But I love that stuff. I love that, like the heart and the sunazuri, the gizzard, and even intestines. Some of them are good. I like the small fatty ones.
Oh,
you ever
really?
go to Hormone? You ever eat the Hormone yaki in Japan?
Yeah, I've been once. Yeah,
I like the little fat pustules that come from the intestines, and they're so sweet.
The one that I went to was very dark inside, so you basically couldn't see the food. I was thinking it's probably a good thing that it's dark in here. But there's one that I noticed that I'd like to go. I can't remember what station it's at, but it's just an innards yakiniku shop, and the name of it is Guts.
Oh yeah, nice.
So I thought that's an awesome name.
One thing I'm worried about with your diet is that if you're eating a lot of food at one time, then you're not like digesting, especially the amount of protein that you might ideally have if you did it over a few sessions. Now I've heard that if you don't eat that much protein, don't take it in, as long as you're still doing weight training, your body will prioritize pushing protein into the muscles. And if you're not exercising, then you just kind of like you get a certain amount of protein, and then the rest not changes to fat, but to simplify the situation, it becomes it turns into a glucose or whatever, something like that. So do you work out, do you exercise, and or have you what do you think about this criticism of your diet, that you maybe should be spreading out your protein intake several times during the day?
I mean, that's... So I'm always in two minds about stuff like this, because I think probably it would be good to spread it out from a perspective like that. But also, go back, I don't know, 20,000, 30,000 years, we wouldn't have been eating that way.
Yeah.
Right? And you look at animals, they're not eating that way. They'll get maybe one fed in a zoo. They probably get fed once a day, and they're feeding them the right stuff in a zoo. Right? They've worked out exactly what they need, and so I kind of feel like it just feels right. It seems to be working for me, so I'm kind of happy with that. I don't know. I might be regressing somewhat as far as I don't know. You might say my intelligence is regressing somewhat or something, but I'm taking a more simplistic view of things like this now, and just feeling like it's 3 meals a day is too structured. It feels like, well, that's been put in place because that worked for someone. I'm not saying for a profit motive or something. I mean, during the work day or whatever it was.
That's exactly what it was.
And it's like, is that necessarily the most natural way we should be eating? And so because I just have questions around things like that, and so I think my body feels okay now, so I'm good with it.
Well, the one, I guess you could say studied about diet and stuff like that, in that I would read a lot of articles and reports, also watch a lot of YouTube videos with expert dietitians and doctors or whatever talking about different diets. And the one thing, universal thing that I can say about dieting is that everyone's different. And it really depends on your body, and you can't tell a bunch of people this is the way you should be eating, because even if it's 3 people, one of them is going to react badly to some food.
And this goes back to the thing we we're talking about with dairy. Some people will be fine with dairy, and other people are just going to be breaking out in hives or putting on weight, or
Yeah, and on your channel, with the limited content that I've watched now, which is probably about maybe 4 or 5 interviews, and a couple of your blue-haired wokester, you're killing all the animals. Yeah, no, those you take you set up. What do you call it? You set up would be a straw man, or you're almost steel manning, but in a comic way, their points, Yeah. So, but anyway, I've seen the content on your page, and you not once ever said that anyone should be eating carnivore. Not that I've seen so far. You're like, this is what I've done. It's worked.
Yes.
I've interviewed. How many people have you interviewed now, do you think?
It's over 700.
Jesus. And these 700 people have good things to say about the diet. Like I said, the most shallow level, you lost weight. If you want to lose weight quickly, eat meat. That you can eat meat,
right?
And you'll lose weight quickly. That's just absolutely sad. And you could probably eat as much meat as you possibly could and still lose weight,
because it's self-limiting,
right? Yeah, like we talked about before.
Pringles are not self-limiting.
No.
Meat is.
Yeah. No, you can. If I eat a steak this big, it's like, if I can finish it. You ask me if I want more. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Fuck no, I don't want any more. It's like, I don't even want to see a steak for the next 3 days. It's like, when I'm full, it's like, yeah. And it kind of makes sense because carbs are often like sort of filled with air, so you eat them and they kind of just like,
Yeah.
And then, but meat is like, when you chew a steak, basically whatever that was goes in your stomach.
Right.
It's like all the juices. There's some air in there, I guess. Maybe I'm not sure. But anyway, you're breaking it down, but basically you're just making it smaller so you can swallow it. So that ends up in here, whereas the carb, you can seemingly just keep on eating it and eating it and eating it. Just seems to like, I don't know.
Well, I was talking to someone today that had gastric sleeve surgery 12 years ago or something. And she's now carnivore. And she was talking about how if she's eating potato chips, she can just eat and eat and eat and eat and eat.
Yeah, me too.
Because it crushes up really small and packs in really small, right? But if she's eating a steak, she can't eat like that because it doesn't pack in the same way.
Right. Yeah. So why did I get on this thread about satiation and? Oh yeah, just that you can't recommend. Like I just did. I said if you want to lose weight, eat all meat. I mean that's just kind of like it's more like a scientific fact. But then again, some people can't eat meat. Some people have like some kind of like allergy to some amino acids or whatever, and so
like alpha gal or.
I'm not sure that they have to be careful of their protein intake, and if they eat only vegetables, even that can creep up to the protein, their protein limit, and they have to be careful. But so, I don't see you shoving this down anybody's throat. You're just saying like, I did it, worked for me. 700 interviews of 700 people, it worked for them. Give it a try, and you probably see good results. Or if not, like you said, elimination diet. Cut carbs first, or first cut sugar. For God's sakes, cut sugar from your diet. Not that I've cut a lot of sugar. I still have sweets sometimes, but not like I did before. And then cut like at least the white carbs, or cut carbs.
Yeah.
And try your life like that for a while. And then, especially if you have some kind of autoimmune disease, like we were talking about eczema, which you said on your channel. So I'm not like talking out of school here.
Yeah.
You had eczema, really dry skin. That went away.
Right.
Yeah, I've heard about psoriasis and other skin conditions going away.
Right.
Because you're not feeding your body inflammatory goods. So it's just a matter of fact that anytime you put a carb in your mouth, no matter who you are, you're inflaming the esophagus, the stomach, the intestines.
Yeah.
And some people don't get bothered by that, but it still has an effect on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that I've noticed in myself and other people just kind of related to this that have improved is if you're a mouth breather, carnivore is a good diet for you, because when you get the carbs out of your diet, then your sinuses can seem to clear. And when you're lying down, it's more comfortable breathing through your nose than lying there with your mouth open. And you suddenly, after, I can't remember how long it was, maybe a month or so on carnivore, and I was waking up and going, I don't have that horrible dry taste in my mouth anymore.
Because you were...
I was like...
So it's sleep apnea. You have at least one person who talked about getting rid of sleep apnea. He was on one of those mask machines or whatever, and that he was taking all over the place on business trips to France and Denmark and stuff. Right. And then he went on the carnivore diet and no more sleep apnea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and other people report just sleeping better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That tends to be, even if you just go low carb, that tends to be one of the quickest, most noticeable side effects very fast, like within a day.
Right. So this is the Brent in Japan podcast, and we're talking about carnivore diet, but you live in Japan and we are in Japan. So I don't want to limit my podcast to just talking about favorite tourist spots all the time. So this is a great conversation. Talk about the difficulty, if any, of being carnivore in Japan. So let's say I want to start being carnivore now. What difficulties am I going to have?
To be honest, I feel like it's easier in Japan than probably would be back home.
Do tell.
So there's yakiniku restaurants everywhere.
That's
so
true.
If you go, we're going out for barbecue to your friends, they're not going to go, you're weird just eating meat, because that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't eat the bowl of rice or whatever at the yakiniku, then no one's going to say anything.
Yakiniku is Korean barbecue, and also yakitori, which is the grilled chicken restaurants. You can go to yakitori and just eat meat.
Right.
Yeah, so that's easy.
So that's easy. Like you go to family restaurants, and they often have a little grill they'll bring to the table, and you can have like sirloin steak or something on it, cubed up or sliced or whatever, and it's,
You can. They also in family restaurants they'll have like the Hamburg chicken combo or whatever.
Right.
They always put some corn or something like that on there, but you can tell them no corn.
You can. But this is one of the hardest things about Japan, I think. If you tell them, sometimes it's easier just to let them bring it and brush it off, unless it's going to be a sauce, because you get into this kind of argument, like mental argument with them, where it's like you ask, and they understand the question you've asked them, I don't want corn on it or whatever, but they're like, that's not in the steps that they taught me when I started here.
Yeah.
And is he going to want a discount for taking the corn off? So you'll often get this back and forward, and then later on a manager will come over and say, we can take it off, but we can't reduce the price. And it's I didn't want that, just take it off. So it's often easier just to get it and wipe it away.
Yeah, sure. Or give it to a friend.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course when you're eating at home, but you know what I was thinking is that especially going out, I don't know, a good 10 or 20% of the things in Japan are deep fried. battered and deep fried.
Right.
So it's difficult sometimes to avoid that.
So here's what I think about that kind of thing. Like once you're 2, 3, 4 months into carnivore, you're no longer feeling like I need to eat all the time, right? So your friends say to you, okay, well, we're going out to this kushikatsu restaurant or something like that. So you say, okay, well, I'd like to come along, but if you only eat breakfast, then you can fast through dinner, right? And you can just enjoy their company, and you can have, I don't know, all free beer or something, right?
Right, yeah.
Or black coffee, or or sparkling water.
Yep.
And at first they'll look at you like, oh, you're a bit weird, aren't you? How can you socialize without food? But the thing is, you can socialize.
Yeah,
it's very easy to socialize without food, but we just have this kind of, it's like when you're learning to swim and you can't let go of the side of the pool.
Right.
It's like, it's actually okay to let go of the side of the pool. You're going to be okay. You can stand up in the water. But like, we just put so much focus on the eating part of the socialization.
You know, it bothered my friends more than it bothered me when I was on that like really strict diet when I was 40. It bothered my friends more because I would show up at a place for dinner and I would just say, they would say like, oh, hey, have some of this. I said, no, I don't eat that. And then, oh, by the way, that's a good tip. I don't eat that is better than I don't want it, or I can't eat that, or I'm on a diet. You just say, I don't eat that, or I don't want that. It's like, ends the conversation. Anyway, it's like you say, no, I don't eat. If you say, for example, do you want a dessert? No, I don't eat dessert. If you say, I really shouldn't, I'm on a diet, people go, no, come on. Yeah. But if you say, no, I don't eat sweets, the conversation is basically over. They might say, really? You don't want to? No, I don't eat sweets. Okay, fine. So anyway, yeah, I would show up for dinner and say, I'll have some of this. Like, no, I don't eat that. It's like, I can have some of that or whatever. And then, somebody will come, what do you want? And I'll say, just give me some sparkling water. And then friends will be like, why don't you have a beer? Come on. It was like, it bothered them more than it bothered me for some reason. It's like, I'm totally fine just having this because I know I have this mission, I have this goal I'm on, and yeah.
I think, that is a thing. And that's, I think it's this kind of feeling like they feel they're enjoying something you're missing out on, and they feel kind of guilty because they're partaking in that and you're not. But they don't understand that your feeling is not that I'm missing out, because your perspective is completely different.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there may even be a little bit of like the, how the crabs pull each other back into the bucket, So it's like, I'm trying to escape. I'm going to a healthier, better life, a better body. I'm going to look better on the beach this summer. And then they're like, oh, no, you don't. So you're having a beer.
Get back down here
you're having a dessert. Like that. There might be some of that too. I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, definitely if you're cooking for yourself, then it's easy. Going out might be a little bit problematic, but yeah, the good solutions, just go to yakitori or yakiniku, and then everybody likes yakitori. So
I think being a foreigner in Japan, it's a lot easier. I have only ever met one Japanese person that does carnivore. And I think I understand why. It's because culturally would be so difficult for a Japanese person to, like, for us, think that I don't eat that, right? Can you imagine a Japanese person doing that when they go to someone's house or they go into this, swanky Kaizen restaurant or something?
No, I've said it on the podcast before that we get away with a lot because, I always use the example of the company outing. That everybody's basically, they say, oh, we're going out, are you going to come? And, everybody, of course, you're asked to go, but it's actually kind of mandatory that everybody goes out to the the restaurant, and they sing karaoke and whatever, and they drink, and you have to drink there, and then but the foreigner in the company goes, no, I got plans on Friday. I'm gonna go to a movie with some friends, and then they go, oh, okay, yeah, he's a foreigner. He doesn't kind of get it.
Right.
He doesn't get that. Actually, you're supposed to go, whatever, because he's a foreigner. We'll let him go. If a Japanese person said that, no, they would be the office pariah for like a year. So
right.
They'd probably for 10 years remember that. Hey, who's Tanaka? That's the guy who didn't come to the 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I heard about him. Yeah. With the balls on that guy to like not go to the company dinner. So it's definitely. It's definitely way better living in Japan as a foreigner. In fact, I've often said, if I were Japanese, I wouldn't live in Japan. There's too many obligations, and it's just they're just stifled a lot. Depending on the person, like my friend Masashi or another friend of mine, Ichiro, they kind of go at their own pace, as they say here, go by the beat of their own drum, as we say. But no, most Japanese cannot stomach being that unpopular with other people just to stick up for what they believe in.
Right.
So you're right. I can't imagine somebody just going, edamame? No, I don't eat those. Fried chicken? No.
Mrs. Tanaka, I don't want the rice you made this morning. No,
right,
sorry, I'm not eating rice at the moment.
Right, yeah. I give you some rice. Oh, sorry, I should have told you before, I don't eat rice. Everybody will look at you like you had two heads. Yeah. You would probably be remembered for years. Yeah. Who's that Brent guy? That's the guy who, remember he said he didn't want rice? Oh, yeah, that guy's a weirdo. Yeah, so being carnivore in Japan, intermittent fasting in Japan is easy. And then, so now we finally get to the pop stuff. So how long you been in Japan? Why did you choose Japan, or why did it choose you? Why do you stay here? And all that stuff.
Okay. So, been here 18 and a half years now.
It's a long haul.
Yeah. And I moved, so I worked a lot overseas when I was younger. I was very lucky when I was about 20 years old. Got a job with a company, and they said, we're opening offices overseas. You want to come and help us? And I'm like, yeah. And so they sent me to London, to Hong Kong, to LA, all around the place.
Sweet.
And that was great. I got a little bit tired of it towards the end because it was always like moving around and whatever, but it was great, a great experience for my age. And then I moved back to Australia, and I thought, okay, I'm going to start my life now, right? So got back to Australia, got a mortgage, job, traveling 1 hour to the city and back every day. And I was like, this is kind of mundane. After I'd traveled so much, and I'm like, okay, well, what's the next thing? And so there's no bigger change than going to a place like Japan. So Japan it was, and it was going to be about 3 years. But
you became because it was different.
Yeah.
And was there any appeal at the beginning? Like in my case, I was actually against Japan. I didn't want to come here, but I thought, well, there's nice people everywhere. I'll try it. But in your case, was there an attraction?
I think, one of the attractions up front was like just coming from Australia, where I was reliant on public transport, and it's just so bad. Everything being efficient in Japan and all that kind of thing. I think it was a big attraction.
Yeah. Okay, and then it was supposed to be 3 years. For me, it was supposed to be 1 or 2 years. Now it's 26. So why'd you stay?
Family, and beer and vending machines, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? You can just buy beer from a vending machine in this country. It's insane.
Yeah.
If that were in Canada, I'm sure some of my friends would be dead right now. Like when if teenagers could just get beer from a vending machine.
It's
Holy
like,
Christ.
There was a yakiniku we used to go to in Shinsaibashi. and you paid like 3,500 yen. You got all the meat you could eat for an hour and a half. You got all the alcohol you could drink for an hour and a half. And the owner spoke English, and he liked speaking English, so he would just let us sit there for 3 or 4 hours. Can you imagine how that would go down in Australia? They'd just be like, hook me up, just put it straight into my veins.
No, it's insane. Yeah, I went to a place like that, and sorry if I've already told this story before, but so my mom and my dad and my buddy Mark and Mark, episode 3. In fact, I think we have a clip of Mark.
You can't just go.
So the 4 of us, we sat down. It was at I think it was Rikimaru or something like that. All you can eat, all you can drink, 4,000 yen.
Right.
So we were just ordering this cut of meat, that cut of meat, this little appetizer, this edamame, and we were drinking this kind of beer and that. And then my mom wanted to try sake, and then I said, "Oh, you've never tried hot sake? We should try the hot sake." And then we went Chuhai, and then it's like back to beer again. We were plastered. We were having a great time. We ate our faces off. We go to pay, and my mom says, "How much is it?" And I said, "Don't worry, Mom, I got it." She said, "No, I just want to know how much it is." And so it's 16,000 yen, so 4,000 yen each, and of course, no tax. I mean, that was the price,
right,
including the tax, 4,000 yen, no tip, no nothing. It's just like 4,000 yen each out the door. So 16,000 yen. So I told her 16,000 yen. That's about 160 Canadian bucks. And she said, "No." And she's like, "I feel bad. They're losing money on us. There's no way." The whole way we walk out of the restaurant, and she's like, "No, I can't believe we paid $40 per person for that. They didn't make any money." It's like, "They probably made some money. Don't worry, Mom." It's like, but yeah, she actually felt bad that it was so cheap, and that we just ate our faces off. And we probably just stayed there for the 90 minutes or, maybe a little longer. I don't know. But yeah, it's insane, this country. If it's really easy to overdo the alcohol in this country.
That's part of the reason I started Carnivore, to get rid of the alcohol, because I'd been overindulging for way too many years.
Right. Yeah, it's difficult here because like we were just talking about the company party. When you go there, some of my Japanese friends have told me, like, "I hate going to the company party." I said, "Why?" It's because they make me drink, and I don't want to drink, and I get drunk and I get sick. I said, "Well, don't drink." They said, "Yeah, but you have to, because they keep pouring drinks." And I said, "Yeah, but if you say no, if you say no, and they say, 'Nah, yeah, come on,' and you say no, and they say, 'Yeah, you have to drink,' at that point, they are being rude."
Yeah.
Even in Japan, I think, and a good case can be made for that. So I said, you go, you order your oolong cha, and you drink it, and then when they ask, you just say, "Yeah, nomimasen." And don't say, again, going back to this thing, don't say, "I shouldn't drink," or "I don't want to get drunk," or just say "can't drink." Or I even said, just lie. Tell them you're allergic to alcohol.
That's the thing. I think sometimes Japanese people feel bad about lying like that.
So do I, but I mean, if you're going to save your life.
Yeah, well, I mean, in a situation like that, I don't feel bad. I'm allergic to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, or, I'm it doesn't work for me, but I'm pregnant, like, like, say something that's just going to make them stop.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's crazy. Okay, and so what do you do in Japan, if you don't mind my asking? You actually you work on your YouTube channel a lot, and did you teach or work at companies? Or?
So first 6 years I was here, I worked remote for the bank that I worked for in Melbourne.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
So yeah, I left there when they were in this really busy time, and they said, "Oh, look, just keep working for us." And I was like, awesome.
Yeah.
So for the first 6 years, I was working out of my house, but it was a little bit weird because I kind of felt like I wasn't living in Japan, even though I was. But yeah, after that, I moved into a position where I was training business people how to do presentations and that kind of thing. So
I remember that period of your life.
Yeah. So like I'd go around to pharmaceutical companies of all places and train their staff. Like they might be going to open an office in India or a factory in Thailand or something like that. So I'd teach them how to communicate.
Right.
Do a presentation in a kind of a more globally acceptable way. Because, you know, the typical salaryman kind of way of doing a presentation is like, you know, pointing at the slides and all that kind of thing, which is not very engaging. Didn't you have a YouTube channel where you taught presentation skills or something like that? I still do. You still do? But okay. I kind of...
well, it's there, right?
Yeah,
people
it's
can
there.
Still see your
kind
stuff,
of, just got a bit tired of making the content.
And, you know, I mean, at some point, like even with this podcast, at some point it's going to be like, okay, how many times can we recommend Tori Hisoku, Yaki, Tori? Yeah. At some point, that's why even from the beginning, I said, the point of this is to talk about Japan with my friends in Japan, but not only that. Because I already knew from the beginning at some point, you know, and I don't want to limit the conversation. Like next time my buddy Mark or Chris or Masashi come on the podcast, I just want to have a conversation. What are you doing? What are you doing? What did you do last week? And even that is Japan-based because, like, even as much as we talked about the carnivore diet, it's Japan-based because you live in Japan.
Right.
And so people can see somebody who is living in Japan and living like that, doing carnivore diet, successful YouTuber. And would you do anything else now?
So right now I'm an English teacher, but I'm kind of between jobs at the moment. That's part of the reason I've just been putting everything into getting as many interviews out as I can at the moment, because once the next job starts, then my time is going to be more restricted.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I've been doing one a week recently, but that's not going to be sustainable for next once the semester starts. Yeah. Okay, so maybe you can wrap it up with some your recommendations. Maybe especially if you have recommendations for sightseeing places or restaurants that maybe are not going to be super crowded, or things to do in Japan that you think are not going to be super crowded. We want to hear those. But otherwise, anything, your favorite, like your go-to places, like let's say family member comes to visit you in Japan or friends come to visit you in Japan, where do you take them? That kind of thing.
So if friends were coming to visit, I think a really nice place to take them is Harbourland, just around here. It's really nice at night, you know, the restaurants are good, and it's kind of a blend of, you know, it's Japanese, but it's also kind of very Western in that way. So it can be comfortable for people visiting. Personally, I try and avoid Kyoto because it's always bedlam there. You know, and so it's nice, it's beautiful going to temples there, but it's just a bit crazy.
If you're coming to Japan, if you're a tourist coming to Japan, you've never been, you have to go to Kyoto. You have to go. But yeah, it's a madhouse. So if I were taking people, I'd probably go to the bottom of the Kiyomizu Temple hill, and I would say, okay, walk straight that way, and you'll figure it out. I'm gonna wait at this cafe.
Right.
Yeah, you guys go ahead. Take as much time as you want. And the same thing with Kinkakuji. I don't know. That Kinkakuji is interesting because there's a line and everybody kind of like goes through.
It's not as bad there. Yeah.
Kinkakuji is the Golden Pavilion. That is not as bad, but there's a lot of like people lingering and coming this way and that way in Kiyomizu Temple, and so that makes it really horrible. But in Kinkakuji, everybody's kind of going the same way, so there's a flow, so that's a little bit better. But yeah. Okay, so avoid Kyoto if at all possible.
I quite like taking people around Umeda. I think that's a pretty good, like, just introduction to the craziness of Japan, how basically the whole city is underground. You know?
Oh, right. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Yeah.
And it's also, if you've got someone that's watched Black Rain, it's kind of cool to take them around and show them all that, hey, this was in Black Rain and this was in Black Rain.
I've done that before. I forgot to get my YouTube out and say, okay, you see this scene? This is where it was shot. Like,
yeah.
And then, I prefer, I never thought about that, about like how everything is kind of underground in Umeda. It's probably good if you're visiting in summer because you can stay cool.
Yeah.
There's a ton of restaurants under Umeda Station, and good ones too. I usually take people to the Namba Shinsaibashi area to walk under the Shotengai, the covered shopping mall, and especially Namba with all the ramen shops and the takoyaki shops and stuff like that. That's kind of a go-to place because it's really crazy with the big crab.
Shinsaibashi and Namba feel more like real Osaka kind of places than Umeda. Umeda's kind of, it's been... The Osaka's almost been renovated out of it in a way, yeah. So if they really want to experience like authentic Osaka, numbers.
No, but I think you got a point there. Like if you bring them to Harborland, which kind of looks like Seattle, Vancouver, bring them to Umeda, which is sort of like more modern, but has Japanisms everywhere. Then bring them to Namba, where it's really crazy, the real Osaka. Yeah, you can kind of like introduce them slowly to that area. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, man. Let me see. I actually wrote notes for you. The second time ever I've written notes for somebody. Okay. Just one last interesting question. Do you ever cheat on the diet? I think the answer is no, because you have consequences to your cheating, right?
Yeah. Well, that's actually one good thing about Carnivore is it promotes not cheating because there are guardrails. So like if I eat, for example, almonds or have something like spinach or something, the next day I'll start feeling, it won't be bad, but I'll start feeling a pain in my knee and like there's reminiscent of the arthritis, and I'm just like, okay, point well taken.
Right. Yeah. No, it looks like I got everything. So, I always forget to say this. Do subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and take a look at this little banner. I made that banner. It took me hours and hours. I used Motion to make a little original banner for my subscribe button with the maneki neko.
Okay.
And if you look at the cat, you can see, rewind, look at that cat, his hands moving. I had to animate that. That was a pain in the butt. And if you're afraid of Alzheimer's, if you have arthritis or joint pain, if you want to lose weight, if you want nicer skin, if you have any kind of skin condition, if you have MS, may as well give it a try. It's not going to hurt you, that's for sure. If you have any of the other things that we've talked about, it's really a good idea to cut carbs. You can go full carnivore if you want, but at the very least, try like a month.
Yeah.
Try for a month. Just cut the bread, rice, potatoes from your diet, and just eat meat and vegetables. And then after that, maybe that's decent advice.
Yeah. I would say that's an awesome starting point. Just cut out processed carbs. If it comes in a packet or a box, and it looks like bread or pasta, get it out.
And definitely sugar. And if you're drinking any sugary drink or whatever, and alcohol, all people don't realize how many carbs are in beer or wine. So give it a shot. And if you want to hear a lot, 700 great testimonies from people who've done that and have had great results, go to Dave Mack's YouTube channel, No Carb Life. Thanks, man.
Thank you so much. It was. I enjoyed chatting.
And I actually had a little project maybe for your channel. When I'm ready to commit to the carnivore diet, maybe I can start and then you can interview me.
Oh, definitely. That'd be awesome.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Cheers.